Hey, it's Mr. N, and this is the Chapter 10 in-class review for geometry. And let's go ahead and get started. The first problem says, in the circle at the right, point D is the center. So often you will see them just indicate that this is circle D. They'll say it like that so that you understand that D is going to be that center point. First thing is to name a central angle. Well, central angle goes to the center. So angle ADB would be a central angle. Name an inscribed angle. An inscribed angle has a vertex that is on the circle. So ACB, angle ACB is an inscribed angle. What is the measure of arc AB? Arc AB is right here. Well, if this central angle is equal to 62, then arc AB will be, the measure of arc AB will also be 62 degrees. Okay, then what is the measure of arc ACB? So this time we're going A to C to B. Well, all the way around except for this 62. So we're going to say 360 minus the 62 gives us the 298, which is the measure of that arc. Okay, and finally, what is the measure of arc ACB? Well, we know that the measure of arc, angle ACB, I should say. We know that the measure of arc AB is 62. We found that right up here. And it's also because this central angle is 62. This inscribed angle is going to be, so an inscribed angle is 1/2 the intercepted arc. So this will be 1/2 of 62, which will be 31 degrees. Okay, in problem number 2, you are asked to solve for x and y. So let's clarify what these say. This should say right here 2y minus 1 if you can't read that so good. But the key on this is to understand that if you have a quadrilateral inscribed in a circle, that these opposite angles will add up to be 180. So 52 plus the 4x will be 180. So now we can solve for the x. So 180 minus the 52 gives me 128. So 4x equals 128. So x is going to be 32. So I've gotten x. Now we got to get the y. Same process. We know that these opposite angles for a quadrilateral inscribed in a circle are going to be equal to 180. So I could say 2y minus 1 plus the 33 equals 180. So subtract 33 from each side. You're going to get 2y minus 1 equals 147. You could have combined these and subtracted 32 from each side. So that would have worked as well. So 2y is going to be 148. So y is going to be 74. Okay, moving on to number 3. It says AB is a diameter of circle P. So P will be the center of this circle. AB is 12. So the whole thing here is 12. The measure of arc CB is 20. CE is congruent to ED. Calculate the lengths of CE and EB. So we need to find this length right here and that length right there. Well, if I know that AB is a diameter and I know that it's 12, that tells me that this radius is 6. That's also 6 right there. But more importantly, I can go like this and make that radius 6. So now I have a right triangle in there with this radius as being 6. And since this arc is 20, I know that this angle, this central angle, will also be 20. So now I have a situation here where I've got this right triangle with this angle 20 and this length of this radius 6. So I can solve for CE, and I can do that by using trig functions. I know that the sine of 20 will be the opposite over the hypotenuse, so that's CE over 6. So CE will be 6 times the sine of 20. So if we work that out, and let me change my calculator back to degrees here, 6 times the sine of 20, I will get a value of 2.05. So CE equals 2.05, which is what ED is. But now I got to find EB. Well, that means I need to find this distance right in there. I could do that with cosine. The cosine, or I could, since I know CE, I could go ahead, I just found this to be 2.05. I could use the Pythagorean theorem as well. Either way. But I'm going to just go ahead and do it with cosine. So the cosine of 20 equals whatever this PE length is over 6. So 6 times the cosine of 20 is going to be the length of PE, and that comes out to be 5.63. So PE is 5.63. And I know that this whole length right here is 6. So since this whole length is 6 and this piece is 5.63, I could find EB. So EB is going to be 6 minus the 5.63. That's what EB will be. So EB will come out to be 6 minus 5.63, which is going to be 0.37. So I found CE and EB. That was a rather tough problem because it required you to learn what we've done in the past with trig functions. All right, moving on to number 4. On number 4, we have a regular hexagon, A, B, C, D, E, F, inscribed in circle O, and AB is 10. So this piece right in here is 10. Find each of the following. We need the measure of angle AOC. So this is 10 centimeters. Okay, AOC is this angle right there. Well, if this is a regular hexagon, that means all these pieces are congruent. So they're all 10. If it's a regular hexagon and they're all 10, that means all these arcs, since these chords are all congruent, all of these arcs will be congruent to each other as well. So I've got 360 degrees in a circle, and I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 arcs. Divide that out. Each of these will be 60 degrees. So each of these little arcs now will be 60 degrees. 60 degrees. So AOC will be 120 degrees. Because all of these are 60, so this is a central angle. It's going to be the same as the intercepted arc. The measure of arc AB, well, we just found that. That's 60 degrees. The measure of arc AC, or ACE, sorry, A to C to E is just this 4 of these 60s. So that's going to be 240 degrees. The measure of arc ABC, so A to B to C, that's going to be 120 degrees. And the measure of angle AFE. So angle AFE. That one in there. For this one, we need to use what we've learned in the past, that the sum of the interior angles of a polygon is equal to n minus 2 times 180. In this case, I have 6 sides. So 6 minus 2 is 4, times the 180 will give me 720. So the sum of all these angles, since this is a regular hexagon, is going to be 720. Now, if I wanted to find what each angle is, we said we would take this and divide it by n. So this gets divided by the 6 sides. So 720 divided by the 6 gives me 120 degrees. So this is 120 degrees in there. So another way, which is probably a little bit easier since we're in this chapter, is that this is an inscribed angle right here. So you can find this whole arc right here, and that whole arc, which we already found to be 240. So that means this inscribed angle will be half the 240, which comes out to be 120 degrees. So that way is another way, and could be easier since we are dealing with arcs and angles. All right, so let's go ahead and move on to the next one. This is number 5, and here we have AE as being 7, and EB as being 4, and then EC as being 2. What is the length of ED? So that right there is our X. So since this crosses inside the circle, we're going to multiply. So that means we're going to set this up as 7 times 2 equals 4 times X. It's that ratio. This times this equals the other 2 multiplied. So we end up with 14 equaling 4x. So x will be 14 over 4, which is 7 over 2. So that is the length of ED. For number 6, we have circle P. So that's our center. And AB is a diameter. And the measure of angle DAB, so DAB is 55 degrees. So we're dabbing at 55 degrees. And the measure of arc AB, or AB is parallel to EF. So these two are parallel, AB and EF. These are parallel here. So that means these will be alternate interior angles since they're parallel. We see that right away. And the measure of arc EF is 80. That's 80. Find each of the following. The measure of arc FB. Well, if EF is 80, okay, since this is 80, as we said, these are alternate interior angles because these two lines right here are parallel. Since these two are parallel, these angles are congruent, which means these arcs will be congruent, which means arc AE and arc BF are the same. So what I have from here to here, since that's the diameter, is a semicircle. So this is 180 from there to there. That's 180. Now, since that's 180, I know that this is 80. I could say 180 minus the 80 gives me 100. So then arc FB will be half of that, and that's going to be 50. So this is 50, and that's 50. We know that this is a, let's go ahead and add some things in here. We know that's going to be a right angle. If this is 55 right here, I could go ahead and right away know that this is going to be 110 there, which means this right in here will be 70. So I filled in everything. Let's see if that'll help me answer some more stuff here. All right, so the measure of arc angle BAF. So BAF is this angle right in there. That's going to be half that 50, which is 25 degrees, because this is an inscribed angle. The measure of arc AE. AE, we solved it already when we did part A, so that'll be 50 degrees as well. The measure of arc AD. Well, we already did that as well, and that's 70 degrees. Okay, so then we have the measure of arc DCB, and that's 110. Again, we just went ahead and filled in the problem, and now we can answer all these questions. And the measure of angle ADB, we know as being 90 degrees. Okay, moving on to number 7. On number 7, it says the figure at the right, and it says that AD is 6, so the measure of arc AD is 6. That's a typo. It should have been 60 degrees, I believe. And the measure of arc BC is 32. We can stick with it to be 6, that's fine. AED, just leave it like that. AED, I need to find that angle. Well, since it intersects on the inside, what I'm going to do is take these two. So the measure of angle AED is going to be 1/2 the sum of these two arcs. So 1/2 6 plus 32. So this ends up being 1/2 of 38, which comes out to be 19. Okay, moving on to number 8. On number 8, it says the figure at the right with arc AD equaling 81 degrees. Arc AD is 81, and the measure of angle AEC is 94. What is the measure of arc BD down here? All right, so if this is 94, I can find what each of these are. I could find what arc CB is. I know that this will be 94 here, vertical angles. I know that 180 minus that 94 will give me 86, what this is, and that's 86 on that side as well. So if I call this X, okay, so this is actually a typo. This should have said BC. So arc BC is what we're going to look for here. So let's fix that and say that we are looking for arc BC right in there. Okay? So here we go. Arc BC is going to be this X that we called. So we've got 81 plus the X. Half of that is going to be this interior angle, which was 86. So it's easier right now to multiply everything by 2 to get rid of the 1/2. So 86 times the 2 gives us 172. So 81 plus X equals 172. So X is going to be 172 minus the 81, which would yield 91. So this X right here, arc BC, is going to be 91. Okay, moving on now to number 9. So for number 9, it says the figure at the right, arc AD is 110, and the measure of arc BC is 22. We need to find the measure of angle AED. Prove your answer. Well, to prove our answer, we know that this angle, since it's a secant, is going to be 1/2 the larger arc minus the smaller arc. So the measure of angle AED equals 1/2 the big arc minus the small arc. So that's going to be 1/2 of 110 minus 22. So 110 minus the 22 would give you 88, and half of 88 is 44 degrees. All right, number 10. Find the value of x. Again, on these formulas that we had to memorize, it's the outside times the whole thing equals the outside times the whole thing. So 10 times the whole thing will be 22 equals the outside x times the whole thing, which would be 3x plus x. So here we end up with 220 equaling 3x squared plus x squared. So 0 equals 3x squared, or 220 equals 4x squared. There we go, that's better. So divide each side by 4. I'm running out of room here, so I'm just going to save the steps. And then take the square root. So x will be the square root of 55. As a decimal, you could write this as 7.42. Approximately 7.42. Okay, on the next one, same process. We've got the outside times the whole thing. So 2 times 16 equals the outside squared. So 32 equals x squared. So you can, if you leave it as the square root of 32, make sure you simplify it, rationalize it. If not, we can go, I think on tomorrow's I didn't ask you to, so you could go ahead and give me a decimal for that, so that'll be 5.66. So x is 5.66. Okay, the last one, since it's on the inside, we're going to multiply. So x times 18 minus x equals 8 times 9. So 18x minus x squared equals 72. So for this one, bring everything over to one side. So 0 equals x squared minus 18x plus 72. Okay, so at this point, we want to factor this. So we've got a product of 72 and a sum of negative 18. What two numbers multiply out to be 72, add up to be negative 18? It's going to be negative 6 and negative 12. So x minus 6, x minus 12. So these two add up to be negative 18 and multiply out to be 72. So x equals 6 and 12. So there's two answers for this one. So you can choose both those answers. And on the last problem, for this one it says write the equation of a circle whose center is at negative 3, negative 1, and passes through that point. So we know that the equation of a circle is x minus h squared plus y minus k squared equals r squared. If I quickly sketch what's going on, we've got negative 3, negative 1 as our center. So this is the h and k. And then it passes through the point negative 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, right there. So that is our radius, that distance. So for this one, what we need to do is find that radius. Because we have our h and k, we can plug those right in. So x minus negative 3, this becomes x plus 3 squared. Y minus negative 1 gives me y plus 1 squared. And now I just have to find that r squared. Well, that's just the distance from here to here. You could draw a triangle out if it helps you. like that and use the Pythagorean theorem, or just use the distance formula. The distance formula is the square root of x2 minus x1 squared plus y2 minus y1 squared. And you're just using these 2 points. So the distance between those 2 points will be -5 minus -3 squared plus 8 minus -1 squared. So this ends up being -5 plus 3, which is -2 squared, plus over here 9 squared. So the distance will be the square root of 4 plus 81, which is the square root of 85. Just leave it like this. You don't need to take the square root of that. And here's why. I'm going to put in, this is my radius, what I just solved for. So x plus 3 squared plus y plus 1 squared equals the square root of 85. That's the radius I just solved for squared. Well, look what happens. What's the square root of this squared? It just reduces itself out. So this is just 85 on this side. So x plus 3 squared plus y plus 1 squared is what your r squared is, which is 85. All right, hopefully that review helped. Study, and good luck on your test.